Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really fundamental shift in how the US is competing with China. And it's a huge gamble, one that's moving the real battlefield away from boardrooms and right onto the factory floors.
You know, this quote from Congressman Baumgartner, it really gets to the core of it. We are way past just talking about trade deals here. This is a whole new kind of competition, where the weapons of choice are, well, they're factories and microchips.
So to really get a grip on this new playbook, we're going to look at a tale of two very different industries. One that the US pretty much let slip through its fingers, and another that it's now defending with everything it's got. Let's start with the big one, the cautionary tale of American shipbuilding.
For decades, right, the U.S. took a very hands-off, free market approach to shipbuilding. The thinking was, let the market decide. And the results of that experiment, well, let's just say they speak for themselves.
It really all kicked off back in 1982. The Reagan administration looked at the subsidies propping up U.S. shipyards and basically said, the math doesn't work, so they cut them. The effect was immediate and, honestly, catastrophic. Production just cratered, the U.S. share of the global market basically vanished, and thousands of skilled jobs gone.
And this number, wow, it just shows you the scale of the hole the U.S. is in. According to the U.S. Office of Naval Intelligence, China's shipbuilding capacity is over 200 times, not percent, times greater than America's. That is a staggering gap, and it has huge national security implications. I mean, for everything from building a naval fleet to just controlling supply chains in a crisis.
And this right here, this is the crux of the problem. How is it possible that it costs nearly 4 times more to build the exact same ship in an American shipyard versus a South Korean one? I mean, that's the billion-dollar question for policymakers who are trying to figure out how, or even if, the U.S. can get back in this game.
Now, a really key and super controversial piece of this whole puzzle is a law that's been on the books for over a century. It's called the Jones Act. And what it does, in a nutshell, is it says any ship moving stuff between 2 U.S. ports has to be American-built. It basically creates a protected market for what's left of the industry.
And oh boy, this is where the debate gets really heated. Supporters say, look, this is the last lifeline keeping this industry alive. But then critics point to these situations that just seem totally absurd, like the fact that you can't easily ship natural gas from Texas to Boston on a U.S. ship. They say it's a self-inflicted economic wound. And check this out. It proves that for China, this isn't just about building ships. No, it's about owning the entire maritime ecosystem. From the cranes that load the cargo to the actual shipping containers themselves. It's a strategic level of control that gives them enormous leverage over all of global trade. Okay, so that's the cautionary tale. Now let's flip the script and look at an industry where the U.S. is fighting like hell to not let history repeat itself. An industry where America still holds the high ground, advanced semiconductors.
Here, the playbook is completely different. This isn't about rebuilding something that was lost. It's all about playing defense. The U.S. is trying to create what you could call a technological choke point. They're not just blocking the sale of the most advanced chips, they're also controlling the incredibly specialized machines you need to even make them in the first place.
But, you know, China is not just sitting back and taking this. They're hitting back, restricting their own exports of critical minerals, pouring tens of billions into their own domestic chip industry, and, frankly, pulling off some breakthroughs that a lot of experts really thought were impossible without Western tech. So when you put these two stories side by side, the fall of shipbuilding and the fight for semiconductors, you start to see they're not separate things at all. They're two fronts in the exact same war, and they reveal a brand new playbook for American strategy.
Here's the rub, though. U.S. export controls are only as good as the weakest link in the chain. If key allies like the Netherlands and Japan have looser rules, well, China's just going to exploit those loopholes. It's a huge problem. So to try and plug these gaps, there's a new bipartisan bill called the Match Act, and it's designed to force everyone onto the same page. It specifically targets that choke point equipment. We're talking about the super advanced lithography machines that basically print circuits onto silicon. And it puts a clock on it. It gives our allies 150 days to adopt similar controls, and if they don't, it says the U.S. is prepared to go it alone. It's a pretty aggressive move.
And why is that unified front so critical? Well, brand new research from the Federal Reserve gives us a pretty stark answer. Get this, a whopping 76% of the recent growth in China's trade surplus didn't just happen by accident. It came directly from 15 very specific sectors that Beijing has been strategically targeting.
And this chart? It's like a roadmap of that strategy. Look at computing machinery at the very top. Over 1,000 separate policy interventions. These are the exact industries highlighted in their Made in China 2025 plan. This isn't random.
It is a deliberate, focused, long-term plan in action.
So, what does this all add up to? Well, it's a massive, high-stakes gamble, and it's got truly profound consequences for the entire global economy and for national security.
This is the fundamental choice, the huge trade-off the policymakers are wrestling with right now. On one hand, you have the very real danger of being dependent on a strategic competitor for things you absolutely need, from military gear to medicine. But on the other hand, you have the costs of protectionism, higher prices, potential inefficiencies, all the things that come from trying to build everything at home.
For decades, the U.S. played by one set of rules, putting its faith in free markets. Now, it's tearing up that playbook and making a completely different bet. So the big question for all of us is this a smart, necessary defense for a new era? Or is it a massive, costly mistake that's going to unwind decades of economic policy? The answer, whatever it is going to define the world we live in for years to come.